Hi, I'm Sandy Alnock, and I have a Bible journaling page to share with you today, and it's from Numbers chapter 15. And in this chapter, God talks about remembrance and getting the Israelites to remember his commands. He says to make tassels on the corners of your garments with a blue cord on each tassel. You will have these tassels to look at, and so you will remember all the commands of the Lord, that you may obey them. Sometimes I wish I had a garment that had a tassel on it to remind me of the things God says to do. But unfortunately, I don't wear the same thing every day to have that kind of reminder. But when I saw this passage in a devotional I read recently, I thought that would be a really good first post to do here on this new YouTube channel. So even if you're watching this later, this is the very first one that I'm doing on this new channel. The reason that I thought it was going to be perfect is because I've sort of forgotten about a commitment I made to the Lord. Now, I haven't technically forgotten, but some time ago, several years ago, I told God I was going to do a monthly faith-related post on my YouTube channel, and that I was going to honor him by doing that. There's a few reasons why that didn't keep going. One is just my schedule got busy. I commit to doing posts on various things and creating videos with certain products, and then the schedule gets full and I keep saying, okay, well, in another week or in another couple of weeks and next month, and then it just kept getting moved and moved and moved. But the other reason was I was getting negative feedback. As you might suspect, when you share your faith, people don't like that sort of a thing in a lot of cases. There's a lot of folks who don't enjoy that when they came to my channel to look for other coloring videos, so it was not going over all that well. And to some extent, I just said to heck with it. I didn't mind losing followers over it. However, it's nagged at me, and I've just felt like I needed to do something different, and I kept praying about it and saying, God, what is it that I'm supposed to do? How am I going to get back on the wagon? Because that's what I committed I wanted to do for him, to be able to share my faith. Well, eventually we came to the conclusion that another YouTube channel might be just perfect. And I will occasionally mention over on that channel that this one is here so that people can come and find it. But hopefully those who are just doing a search on YouTube will eventually find my videos here as well. And if you enjoy these, feel free to go and share them. A lot of you are in Bible journaling groups, that sort of thing. If you want to let them know this is a new channel available, I would love to have more people come and join me and take this journey with me, and we'll see what God does. A lot of what he's wanted me to do, and that I will be trying to do throughout these videos, is talk more about why I'm doing a page, where I got the idea from, or what the scripture means to me, where he's taking me to it in my life, and what he's doing. Because that's more of my focus in trying to get people to do Bible journaling, is exploring your relationship with God. What is he telling you to do? I don't really care all that much if your art looks any good. I have a class over on my art classes site. I'll have a link to that in the description, but I have a class where I talk a lot about how it doesn't matter whether your art's any good or not. I don't care if it looks like my art. I don't care if it looks like anybody else's art. I don't care if it's stick figures. It's all about you engaging with God. And I want to share with you, like I did with this passage, why am I doing it? What is God working on in my heart? And how I'm using my Bible journaling and growing my faith. Because that's what I want for you. I want your faith to grow. And if you learn something along the way, great, but that's not really my focus. I want you to be able to actually engage with the Lord. But I'll take a little break here and talk about what I'm doing. I've penciled in my sketch first by putting it underneath of my page, because when there's nothing else on the page, you can kind of see through and be able to trace the image on there. Then I went over it with gray watercolor pencil. These are Faber-Castell pencils. And I'm using a baby wipe right now to move the color around. The reason I'm doing that is because a brush would be a little too wet. And this allows me to just put a slight amount of moisture to soften the edges of some of these different areas and lift color if I got it too heavy in some place, that sort of thing. And then after it's dry, I can put on another layer of color. If you want to keep working, you don't want to wait for it to dry, which doesn't take very long. If you don't have much moisture on there, you can always iron it in between. Just put a piece of copier paper below and above it and give it a couple seconds on high heat, and it will flatten out fairly well. As much as paper is going to flatten out. It'll never get back to perfect, but it'll be pretty close. So then I can add another layer of watercolor pencil on top of it. I have the full set of the Albrecht Dürer pencils, and this is one tray. There's 3 trays in the whole box, so it's a lot of pencils, a lot of colors. And I like these pencils because I have so many colors. My other color pencil sets don't have nearly this many shades in them, so I like this set for that reason. And you can use watercolor pencils as pencil, or you can use them to mix with water to make them look like watercolor, so they have a lot more flexibility than some of the other mediums. Most of them also don't bleed. They don't bleed through the page, and you can also see through them even if they're colored on top of some of the text. And that's important to me to be able to still read the scriptures. So I'm just going to put more layers and add some depth to this as I go, because the pictures that I found on the internet, I was looking for what a tassel would look like. And what I often do if I'm looking for something in ancient Israeli history that I don't know what it would look like back in the day, then I will go look on the internet and find out if there's any pictures of such a thing or drawings that somebody else has done from their knowledge of Jewish history. And the pictures that I found the most of, there was a kind of a white muslin sort of piece of fabric. And picture this, and you'll see it as it develops. It's folded over a little bit with this tassel hanging down in front, and there's one blue strand going through the whole tassel. But I needed to make the white look like it's white, and in order to do that, I have to color the dark space behind it. That's why I'm doing all these dark shadows. It's called negative coloring or negative drawing. So I'm drawing the space in between the tassels. There's also behind the tassels, the main tassel, there's these littler tassels that are made of threads. So they're much finer, and those little hairs are just really tiny threads versus this nice thick tassel. And then I decided on the edge of the fabric, I wanted it to look more like fabric than it did, because when you're looking at a piece of fabric, you can see that texture. I can't really create that here. So I needed to fake a few things. So I put some stitching along the edge. And then in the decor, or at least my decor that I added to this, I just put the word remember, 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 remember across the entire edge. So that added a little bit of almost lacy detail, but that's the point of this page. I want to remember, remember, remember what I've committed to the Lord. And hopefully this channel's existence is going to remind me of my commitment that I wanted to continue doing Bible journaling and sharing my faith here on YouTube. So now I'm adding the blue for the tassels, because in the picture that I found, or a couple pictures that I found, the tassel was sort of tied around it and it was woven in such a way that there were these cross pieces. And then there was one blue strand, nice heavy blue strand that went through the whole thing all the way down into the tassel. So I don't know if the pictures that I chose from the internet were the right ones. I don't know about the person's research who showed these pictures, but it's good enough for me because I'm not a scholar in that way, but it was helpful to me to be able to have something to follow to be able to create this page from. For my text, I wrote it in pencil first and then went over it with a micron pen. Micron pens don't bleed, and life with God is best lived at the fringes. So out at the outside edges is where I'm living with God, and that's just what I thought would work with this particular page. And then I erased using a kneaded eraser. It's a very soft eraser, and I use that a lot in my Bible journaling because I sketch a lot with pencil and then erase it, and that works really well on this paper. And then I just used a thinner micron pen to go around the outside edges. I have a collection of all the different widths, and they're not expensive pens, so it's a good thing to have in your Bible journaling stash. And I just went around the edges of the tassel portion, especially because I wanted that to really stand out as part of the image. And you can add as much or as little detail to these kinds of things as you want, But for me, the tassel was the important thing, and then having that just soft fabric behind it so that I get this idea. Now, if you leave yourself a space to journal, which I didn't really here, I may decide to journal in that triangle that's invisible right to the left of the verse and to the right of the tassel. There's a little triangle there, and I may journal a little bit about this commitment that I'm making to God, but I thought I would leave that for post YouTube so that I can keep that private. And here is the final ironing, just a couple quick seconds, and you can put paper over it, or if your stuff is mostly dry, you can just iron right on top of it. Just make sure that your iron doesn't end up getting dirty and getting on your next project. So there is my finished page. I hope you enjoyed this and my little stories to go along with it. There'll be some other videos here. A playlist of my old stuff is down in the doobly-doo down below and could be on the screen. There's also a Bible journaling class if you're interested in taking that. Make sure you subscribe so you can get more videos from me on this channel, and I'll see you next time.